having mini books are a quick way for children to explore new ideas and enjoy stories. Mini books are also useful for prompting children to think about and understand the concept of sequence. They are written to engage emerging readers. How to create a mini book?
Hello everybody! Welcome to our YouTube channel,
English as a Second Language.
My name is Janely Cardosa.
My name is Brenda Reyes, and today we're going to talk about how to improve your 4 English skills.
As we know, we have 4 English skills
2 of them are input skills.
and 2 of them are output skills. What about input skills?
Well, as we know, there can be no learning without input skills. It can be defined as the language data which one learner is exposed to. But as an English teacher, we must provide our students with comprehensible input that the learners can be able to understand. But in general, input is what we listen and read. Then the information is stored in the part of the brain responsible for the language. But it's not only the quantity of input that we receive, but also the time, quality, and level of the input. All these factors will have an impact in language acquisition and development. But what about output skills?
Okay, output skills, it could be defined when we refer to any spoken or written part of information and you use the second language. What you produce is a result, what you receive or what you learn. As an example, if you write a letter for your friend, you are producing output skills. Or if you want to speak with someone, you are producing output skills. In general, if you write or if you speak, you are practicing output skills.
Now, I'm going to give you some tips about how to improve your listening. First, defining what is listening. Listening is giving one attention to an action. Listening is giving one attention to a sound or an action. Receiving and interpreting the information. Listening is the key for an effective communication. Without the ability of listen effectively, the message can be misunderstood. We spend a lot of time listening. For the 100% of the time that we spend with communication, 45% of the time is listening, so that is a lot of time. It's worthwhile to take a bit of extra time to ensure that we are listening effectively. But now, I'm going to give you some tips about how to improve your listening. The first one is face to the speaker and make eye contact. Here you have to look at the other person and ensure that you are paying attention. Then you have to keep an open mind. We don't have to judge what the other person is saying, and we don't have to criticize how she or he looks like. Then we have to listen and try to picture what the person is saying. Here we have to imagine about the topic that he is talking about. The other one is don't interrupt and don't give your solutions. Here we have to realize that all the people think and speak in a different way. The other one is don't interrupt and don't impose your solution. Here we have to realize that all people think and speak in different rates. The other one is you have to try to feel how the other person is feeling. With your body language and your facial expression, you are going to show him or her that you are paying attention about he or she is talking about. showing that we are feeling the same as he or she is feeling at the moment. We also have to give the regular feedback. If the other person asks me something, I have to answer, showing that I am paying attention carefully. And finally, we can make a summary in our mind. Here, we have to remember the most important part of the information that we receive, and here we are going to realize if we understand it.
Now I'm going to talk about reading. What about reading? Reading is a mental process when someone looks into a written text. It could be books, magazines, newspaper, or short stories. Then she or he starts to absorb, to process, and to understand the message from the written information. There are so many tips that can help you to improve reading. First, you have to make a special time to read. You can read in the morning, you can read in the afternoon, or at night. But if you want to read, you have to choose the right reading environment. Why? Because if you want to read on a bed, maybe you will be sleepy and you are not going to enjoy the text or the book or the magazine or the newspaper. For that reason, you have to choose another place. It could be in front of the table or on a sofa, or you can choose a place with plants or flowers. Remember that you have to choose everything what you are interested in. As I told you before, you can choose novels, short stories, magazines, newspaper, whatever you want. But in those places, you can reading out loud. Reading out loud is a key if you are trying to improve your pronunciation. Remember, you don't have to try to understand every word. Why not? Because if you try to understand every word, you are going to lose the concentration in the book. But remember, you can read as often as you can. And you can take notes about the new words that you want to learn.
Now let's talk about speaking. Speaking can be defined as the process of producing vocal sounds. We can say that speaking is to converse or expressing our thoughts and feelings in a spoken language. There are formal speaking and informal speaking. Informal speaking is when we are talking with our family or with our friends. But what about formal speaking? It can occur in business or academic situations, but also when we are meeting someone for the first time. Now, how you will improve your speaking skills? The first tip is practice where and when you can. That means that if you have free time, you can practice. Or if you have a favorite place, you can go and practice there. That means that it doesn't matter the time or the environment, you have to practice your speaking skills. The next tip is record yourself. How this tip is going to be useful for you? Because when you record yourself, you will be able to know how your voice sounds and recognize your mistakes. Then you can record again and you will improve. In this way, you will improve your confidence and you will know that you are able to be better the next time that you will do it. Another tip is practicing with the English that you know. For example, singing your favorite song or practicing by yourself. You can practice in front of the mirror. In this way, you will use the vocabulary and the grammar that you already know. And the last tip is think in English and don't translate. When you are speaking, you have to think in English and speak in English because it's hard for our brain making the two processes at the same time.
Now I'm going to talk about writing. What about writing? It's a form of communication that allows students to put their feelings and ideas on a paper, to organize their knowledge and beliefs into convincing arguments, and also to convey meaning through well-constructed text. There are so many tips that can help you to improve writing skill. Tip number 1, don't get distracted. If you want to write something, you have to do it in a quiet place. And also you have to use a wide vocabulary, because if you don't use wide vocabulary according to the topic, your paragraph won't be understood. And also, remember, if you want to form a sentence, you have to use grammar structure. That's why you have to remember basic rules. And if you have to write a paragraph and you don't know anything about the topic, you have to read more. Because if you have the knowledge according to the topic, your paragraph will be understood. Another tip is try to keep a diary. Remember, if you want to practice writing, then you need to write in your diary. And the last tip is use internet tools. You can enter in chat rooms and you can write wherever you want. That's why you can practice your written skills.
In conclusion, we can say that listening and reading are the receptive skills because learners do not need to produce language. They receive and understand it.
The second one, the productive skills are speaking and writing because learners need to produce language. They are also known as active skills.
The next one, to become a well communicator, one needs to be proficient in each of the 4 language skills because all of them are important and useful.
These 4 skills give learners opportunities to create context with the language and use it for exchange real information according to their own ability, proof of their learning.
The next one, in real life, language skills never occurs in isolation. For example, in conversation, we practice listening and speaking. When we are filling a form, we are practicing reading and writing. Or if we are taking notes, we are practicing listening and writing.
Next one way to improve is to feed our brain with a lot of input. For example, reading a few books in English, it will improve vocabulary and grammar. Then we will use them automatically without thinking because our brain will only be repeating that it has seen many times.
And the last one is full immersion in the 4 English skills. We have already finished our video, how to improve the 4 English skills.
If you really like the video, you have to follow in our social network.
And we hope that this video will be useful for you. And remember our names?